So here we are, 6 episodes. I hadn't seen The Last of Us. I've watched them during Bachelor's Weekend. I dug into The Last of Us.
Did some elliptical and watched some.
Yeah, I got on the elliptical and I watched The Walking Dead.
The Walking Dead, Prestige,
So
HBO Walking Dead.
I want to relay my impressions, and the best way to summarize them is anything that takes place. So for those who haven't watched the show, the big outbreak, the big catalyst of the show happens in 2003, and present day on the show is 2023. So we meet Joel in 2003, and we catch up with him in 2023. And this Ellie character, you know, the girl in the show, and I assume in the game, she was born, you know, during the pandemic. And so, and they're in Boston, which was, I think you mentioned that, but it's pretty stark to see like, the state capitol building, and like around the corner from that is like the cemetery there. And, you know, like
not a dunks in sight.
Not a dunks in sight.
They fucked up.
Yeah. What's up with that, man? If you're going to shoot something in broken ass Boston, like dunks would get all over it. But for my money, everything that takes place in 2003 is masterful. The whole setup is
amazing. Like even when they do like I like the little like interview in the beginning that's like in the 70s or whatever, and they just like you know, they're like, I like little tiny scenes like that look stylized, almost like and then once it goes to like the outbreak and how the girl's walking around, like sirens are going by, but she's just, you know, whatever, keeps going about her day. She's like that the clock shop closes up and she's like, oh, whatever, like things keep ramping up.
It evokes, if anybody ever like lived outside of New York during 9/11, or I was 2 miles away from the Boston Marathon, but weren't you nearby the Boston?
Oh yeah, I was. Yeah, I think I told the story on the podcast. I was a block away when the bombs went off.
Yeah. It evokes that same sense of like, what's going on? Like because people, there's a very urgent emergency happening, but people can't quickly and easily communicate about the nature of it and the scope of it until things really start to break down. And so, I loved like, you know, these like squadrons of emergency vehicles, you know, plowing urgently towards, you know, some violent event, but she has no clue that's what's going on yet because things haven't broken down that badly. Or planes keep flying lower and lower, you know, because they're starting to be down planes and stuff. And even like her asking the question of like, maybe there's nowhere to go. Maybe there's nowhere to go. It's a hell of a
Yeah, it's scary. And then when the planes actually do crash, it's like, oh shit. And they do the camera inside the car there, which looked really cool.
Yeah. So all that was, I was like, oh yeah, we're in for a treat here. And then they cut to present day, and it's like people with makeup dirt on, like whispering to each other. and I just, you know, and a lot of the tropes, you know, the I'm bitten and you don't know, and I'm only revealing it to you after the fact. And now what do we do? You know, that trope's there. It's like, it doesn't take long before we're doing all the zombie greatest hits. You know, we might have found a cure. It's a stretch, but maybe, you know, we have to do a thing. Decidedly not calling them zombies. Such a Walking Dead move. Walking Dead always called them walkers and never once said the word zombie. So like the infected. What else? The people are the real monsters, you know. But I liked that it was like a cop and during day one that shot the girl. It's you know, and it leaves our character in a really good, really interesting spot to follow him, which is like 20 years ago his life fell apart. But even like the stoic, disaffected grown man who now has to like grow a heart for the petulant child who's a real character. I'm just like, okay.
We're doing this again.
You know, again, luckily, Pedro Pascal, I actually think is quite good. It's really funny and weird to me to hear like the Mandalorian voice, like with a face, like the whole time.
Yeah, that's true. I've seen him in other stuff too, but yeah, he's good. He's, you know, he's a hot commodity right now. He's good.
Didn't he say he forgot that he got casted in this?
What's that?
I think he said that he forgot that he got casted in this. Like he was just going for so many roles, and he's like, oh yeah, I got to do Last of Us too. But like everybody said, that third episode, which takes place in 2003, and then brings us up to present, with Nick Offerman. I thought that the Nick Offerman thing was going to be, because he's a comedy actor, there was going to be like 20% comedy, 30% comedy, you know, and then it would kind of turn tragic or something. It is just dramatic the whole time. And he plays, I mean, the writing's pretty good, but his performance really elevates. I mean, there's this, it's a very quiet performance. I mean, he's the character speaks very, very little. And I felt like I got so much information about his relationship to the world. And I also just like, you know, if you have to provision your main characters with ammunition and stuff, what a great thing to be like, well, there was essentially this entire compound that that survived for like 20 years that Joel is welcome to.
Yeah, like it is interesting. Like you could have just had it be like, you know, the Joel picks up ammo and then leaves, but it's like almost the backstory of all those provisions in this episode, and it's such a beautifully told story in 45 minutes, like from beginning to end. You know, it's
which goes to show me, I'm like, you know, you can pack a lot of story in a really small amount of time. Like film is magic like that, where just well-timed scenes that hit the beats that they need to hit can communicate 5 hours of story in 30 minutes. You know, they really can.
Yeah,
because we're emotionally literate, and so all we need, you know, an image worth 1,000 words and stuff.
Yeah, and just Nick Offerman really owns that role. I love when he's delighted. He's like, he's been waiting for this apocalypse all of his life, and he just like springs into action.
Yeah, it's great.
And it's just kind of funny because he's like a conservative character, and he's portrayed very sympathetically, which you don't see a lot in Hollywood.
Yeah, true. But, well, you know, they made up for it with his sexuality.
Yeah, but, you know, it's not like they like Peter Thiel or whatever. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, great episode. It was so good. I was like a good little movie. Like I may show Nina just that episode and cut off the tails of it, and be like, yeah, we don't need to watch the rest of this. And then I've since then watched episodes 4, 5, and 6, and I don't give a fuck.
I don't care. I like
4 and 5 are pretty pointless. Like the whole thing with Henry and Sarah. Have you been watching it?
Yeah, well, the doughy hunter leader there who all that was kind of pointless.
Or there was the lady from Heavenly Creatures. She's like the that like resistance leader that's like really brutal.
Yeah, but she's like soft spoken and I don't know.
She's got this kind of Drew Barrymore kind of cuteness about her. And even though
we're just gonna get rid of you, we're gonna take you out.
She's got that kind of that lispy, kind of droopy lip. And even though I'm gonna murder the whole lot of you, I'm still a real cutesy pie. I'm a total cutesy pie. Interesting, but then it's some of these shows are weird because they'll set up some big threat, some big enemy. And then like a half an episode later, they'll kill the whole lot of. They'll tidy the whole thing up on you.
No. Yeah,
I'm sorry. I thought you were a TV show.
Like I said, it feels like a video game where you are going from threat to threat. You're solving thing to thing, except you can't play it. You're just watching it. And
wouldn't you want like this Henry character with his deaf son who had leukemia and all this? I thought they were compelling. Yeah. Now, why don't we have them go on the journey for a few episodes and really make me attached to them? Really make me feel like we can't let anything happen to this deaf child, and then he turns, and I'll scream to the heavens when that happens. You know, milk the impact.
Yeah, it felt really abrupt, and it felt just like nihilistic and too bleak. It was just too bleak for me. I don't think I want that right now with my media. I think that it plays out similarly in the games, apparently. But
you would agree that the Nick Offerman episode was not nihilistic?
No, that exactly. So there was this this reviewer I used to follow during the Walking Dead days, and he hated The Walking Dead. I think it was...
I do too.
Something Greenwald. Alan Greenwald? No. Something Greenwald. Anyway, he was like... we've been hearing more about this Walking Dead, but what about the Walking Living? And that's what that episode reminded me of. It's like, okay, now we actually have like, a story about life in the apocalypse, as opposed to just like surviving from one thing to the next.
Was it Andy Greenwald, by the way?
Andy Greenwald, yes, I think.
Yes, I agree. It's I would have, it's like, how do you make me interested in yet another zombie story? And the Nick Offerman episode shows me a way where I'm like, well, in an event like that, everybody's got a story. And effectively, one of the things I never love about post-apocalyptic, especially zombie stories, is the survivors always fare pretty well. Like they encounter hordes of zombies and a lot of the times get away. And I'm like, I don't think you could get away from, like, the whole point here is that like almost everybody died and got bitten. So like you shouldn't really fare much of a chance. And so wouldn't it be interesting if you just had like an anthology series where ultimately everybody's going to meet their demise, but just jump from character to character, have it be like this real, like kind of, masterclass on acting. You get some of them, the least obvious actors in the world to portray all these different kinds of characters that all have different, some of them die day one, some of them made it for 3 weeks, some of them made it for 3 years, and just kind of like profile all of these these stories of people living their final days. It might be very interesting.
I thought they were going to kind of do that because, they in the second episode, they did the like Malaysian government's response to things, and that was kind of interesting. And then they did the Nick Offerman story. So I thought they were kind of doing like some little vignettes, and I thought those were the best parts of the show, really. And when you go back to Joel and Ellie, I'm kind of bored of it.
Yeah, I'm like, ugh. I'm also not super impressed by the zombies themselves. It's that same old shit. Yes, they have their mushroom heads now, but it's that same old shit of like, the spidery thing.
Yeah, and really they don't have much screen time in the show. Like, I don't feel like they're that much of a threat. For a lot of it, they're going through empty places, or there's raiders, or there's those hunters. I feel like I'm not feeling the threat from these things right now. So
I agree. So I get there's only 3 more episodes. I'll check it out. And I don't hate the show. I should say, like, I've seen shows I dislike a lot more than this. They all aired around the same time. Brings the power of She-Hulk.
Yeah, your mileage may vary. There's people in the Discord who are like, well, I'm not familiar with The Walking Dead, and I'm really enjoying the show. And so, if
I don't follow that logic.
So if you've never seen any zombie movie in the past 30 years,
yeah, exactly. I'm like, well, you haven't seen any of this shit?
You might not know the tropes yet, and you'll be very surprised when you see them.
Oh my God. He got bit by a zombie but didn't tell anybody. And now the humans are the real monsters.
And luckily they found a commune. They're communists, you see.
So strange.
I know socialism is a charged word.
As you can see, we've rebuilt. And we are rich with luxuries, despite it being communistic.
So are you, like, in charge?
No one person's in charge. I'm on the council, democratically elected.
So, communism.
It is that, literally. This is a commune. We're communists.
Subscribe to Red Cow Entertainment on Patreon for full episodes every other week.